Oh boy. So I didn't have any plans of actually covering this, but as you guys kept putting it in my face, here we are. Yesterday, a developer at Bungie took to Twitter to air some thoughts. He gave his opinion about certain design choices made in Diablo 4, and this definitely stirred the pot for both Diablo and Destiny fans alike. Now, we've memed a lot about a Destiny killer. We've been trying to spot the Destiny killer now for years, and here we are, looking at potentially a true Destiny killer. And listen, I love Destiny. We've been playing it for years, and I have every intention of still playing Destiny. However, we would be blind if we do not see the amount of players that are leaving Destiny to play Diablo. And considering the ratings for Diablo 4, it's honestly no surprise here. Almost everyone, from your average gamer to content creators to even game devs themselves, have been dipping their toes into Diablo. And considering that like Destiny's been going offline 2-3 times a week, dude, I literally go and play Diablo just because Destiny's offline. Now this brings us to Chad Jessup, who's a senior distributed systems engineer at Bungie. He had this to say: Diablo 4 seals it. Enemy scaling is one of the worst ideas in video games. It's lazy, negates several playstyles, ruins player power trips, and just sucks. Never heard of someone liking that type of system. I'm sure those people exist. They're wrong. Now this tweet has since been deleted, as the Bungie dev felt their choice of words were poor and their meaning misconstrued. But not before Mike Ybarra, president of Blizzard, chimed in, replying, "Lazy, huh?" Now I will say this: if I had a bingo card, I would have never had on there Bungie devs calling Blizzard dev choices lazy. And let's just say this really kicked the proverbial hornet's nest and sent everybody in the gaming space into a frenzy on Twitter. Some people were unhappy with the post and the context behind the user posting it being a developer on Destiny 2, citing that the game's now constant server instability issues and controversial development choices are somewhat hypocritical, considering how much stuff gets rehashed in Destiny. Now, Jessup clarified in a following tweet: I think people think I'm saying that Diablo 4 is bad, hard, or lazy. I've only showered praise on the game as a whole. I'm talking about a specific design decision that is in many games that I feel is hurting games. Just a single feature I think is bad across a bunch of games. And to make sure there was no misunderstanding this time, Jessup continued, take two: I'm not a fan of enemy scaling in some games. I feel they can hurt the power trip that some players want when every enemy is always as strong as you. I enjoy the grind when the payoff is power and getting vengeance on enemies that used to give you a hard time. Honestly, guys, I completely understand. I know a lot of people got lost in the weeds on this one. People were breaking out the popcorn. One person even tweeted at Jessup saying, you got to be careful calling something lazy when you're working on a game that no longer cares about their players like they used to. Most people aren't directly targeting you, but they see Bungie and are immediately displeased. Even people who remain big fans of Destiny chimed in with similar sentiments, with one user stating, I would make sure the game is stable before talking shit about other games. I love Destiny, but the servers have been a mess since Lightfall, and it's pathetic. Now, with that being said, the opposite was also true, where a number of Twitter users came to agree with Jessup's original tweet, and after agreeing, one user claimed that in their opinion, level scaling destroys part of the power fantasy of a looter. Another user pointed out that in Diablo, you certainly feel stronger as you go and get your uniques, but the entire game gets just as strong, and it goes from I want to get stronger to I have to get stronger. Kills a bit of the fantasy, and then pigeonholes you into set meta builds. But one user framed it best. Other than this being a big, and I cannot stress this enough, oof, stone, glass houses, people don't quite get the discourse around this. In his replies, Chad makes the point that you can call a dev choice lazy without it being an impeachment of the devs. And then finally, Jessup's last tweet on the subject: wow, people really want to see Blizzard and Bungie fight. Jokes on those folks, we like each other. Frankly, the irony of a Destiny developer calling enemy scaling lazy isn't lost on us. Throwing stones at glass houses, Legend, Hero, Master, and Grandmaster Nightfall modifiers all scale up the enemy difficulty. And then you get to areas like Neomuna, whose patrol zone scales the enemy's 10 light levels above whatever you're at. It doesn't matter how hard you grind or what light level you get yourself to with the seasonal artifact. The game institutes a cap that alters the game much in the way that Diablo 4 scales its enemies to be competitive versus the player. This power scaling was implemented with Lightfall as a way of bringing challenge back to Destiny. It's how we got our surge and threat modifiers, power level disadvantages, and major balance passes to the Sandbox. But it's a band-aid for a problem that would otherwise require surgery. Just like when we talked about in our Combatants 3.0 video, it's not enough to have higher enemy density or enemy scaling. There needs to be a variety of enemies that act in a way that challenges the player, not just hits harder. However, calling the design choice lazy does not equate to calling a development team lazy. lazy, which is what the community seems to be missing here. And it wasn't just criticism of Diablo either. It was enemy scaling in all games. And while yes, it can be fun to go back and slaughter old foes in lower level areas, ultimately the question comes down to, can a live service game keep you engrossed if you're not being challenged by your enemies? Now, Destiny 2 and Diablo 4 are both live service games. And when it comes to a live service model, the one thing you are competing with other games for is the player's time. If you want a successful live service model, you have to have a strong foundation with gameplay that both attracts and retains a player's attention. And if you think Diablo 4 and Destiny aren't competitors because they're dissimilar in their gameplay, fellas, you are wrong. Both Diablo 4 and Destiny are loot-based live service games. The developers want you to spend your time in their virtual worlds grinding with the opportunity to build craft and then customize your character and obtain sweet virtual loot. And unfortunately for Destiny, Diablo has been pulling people away and retaining those players since its launch. Something, by the way, I never anticipated. I am not a Diablo fanboy. This is my first Diablo game. And dude, it's like crack for gamers. Now, shortly after Diablo 4's launch, Blizzard actually came out and announced that Diablo 4 has been its fastest selling game ever, having the highest pre-launch unit sales ever on both console and PC, and maintaining a very healthy score of 88 on Metacritic. So not only was it one of Blizzard's bigger hits, it was its most successful hit. And when you consider some of the massively popular titles Blizzard has released in the past, whether it was Overwatch, and I know that kind of flopped with Overwatch 2, World of Warcraft though, and even past Diablo games, to say that this is their most successful hit is a really big deal. In a recent article, GamePost cites this massive success for Diablo, noting that Destiny 2 may have some newly found competition with the launch of Diablo 4, and that this could end up being a good thing for Destiny. As GamePost put it in their article, with the massive launch of Diablo 4 earlier this month, Destiny 2 may finally face fierce competition for its dominance in the live service gaming space. And I will say, guys, at the end of the day, competition is good for everyone. Competition forces innovation and improvements, something of which Bungie has not been really doing. Yes, we've been getting some quality of life changes, but in other areas, we've been lacking in quality. I know a lot of people really jump up about the drama because, of course, Activision used to be partnered with Bungie, and of course, Blizzard's affiliation with Activision. You get the deal, guys. Yes, there is some rough. Granted, I understand what was being said in this tweet from Chad. I too don't like scaling in looters, but I will say this, when saying something like this, you may just want to say enemy scaling is one of the worst ideas in video games, and not necessarily saying Diablo 4. And then to call out and say that it's lazy, it's just poor timing at this point, right? It'd be different if you're like, yo, this is lazy, if you were, say, almost 10 years into a game cycle and you're getting the same rehashed content season after season, the monetization keeps getting worse and worse, and it seems like everything that's being spent on the game that you love is going to some other game, then it might be okay to say, hey, yeah, this is kind of lazy. But to call a game that just launched as successfully as Diablo 4 has launched, which by the way, this is a 90-day difference in vanilla launches, Destiny versus Diablo. Both Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 had terrible launches at vanilla. Destiny 2 vanilla launch was almost so bad it died. That's why even though I would love a Destiny 3 just to see what Bungie can bring to us, at the same time, considering how bad both D1 and D2 vanilla launches went, I am genuinely fearful of a D3 launch. Just saying. Diablo 4 has not had any of those hiccups. Yes, they've had a couple XP farms get out of hand. They've had some meta builds pop up here and there that have been nailed down, but they have been quick and nimble. That Sandbox team for Diablo 4 has been nailing things down, and they have been working tirelessly. I literally see them pushing out patches on weekends. Weekends! And I know some of you are like, but Cross, people work on weekends. What's the big deal? Listen, you say that, but Bungie won't even launch a raid on Saturday because they don't want people working on weekends. Listen, I'm all about having a nice, healthy work balance in your life. All I'm saying, though, is that Diablo and Blizzard are coming for blood. Really, really. This team is not messing around. And if Bungie doesn't get on their A game, fellas, and I mean this right now, I said it in a tweet that PvE players are leaving Destiny to go play Diablo, and they are getting sucked in. Whenever my Twitch base is asking us to go play Diablo, every single time we go live, while we're in the middle of streaming Destiny 2, that tells you something. Since I have been covering this game, I have never seen this. I didn't see this with Anthem. I didn't see this with Outriders, The Division. I never saw this with any other live service games. I saw some folks dabble, and that's it. Diablo is a wet dream for a player that likes to min-max and build craft to their heart's content with endless loot to grind for. Now keep in mind, time will tell. Right now, Diablo 4 is great, but they too are going to have a seasonal model. And it doesn't take much to suddenly find yourself misstepping. So nothing is ever set in stone. Not Diablo's ascension, nor Destiny's dominance. Again, not trying to start any drama from this, just wanted to kind of pull things together. I definitely don't think there's some like deep internal hatred Bungie has toward Blizzard or vice versa. But you can bet your ass, whether it's being explicitly said or not, both of those developer studios are now competing for your attention. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.